big news in the world of all things Phillies today, as the team has agreed to contracts with 7 players on the team to avoid arbitration for the 2026 season. We're going to get into all of those players today, what it means for the future, and why just because a deal was agreed does not mean the player will be on the team in 2026. This is Luke Arcaini here for Phillies Digest. We're going to get into all of that, but really quick, I have a quick message for you. Before we get into all the news today, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download the Kalshi app using code DIGESTMLB, you will get $20 off when you trade your first $100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States. On their platform, you can trade yes, no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, and pretty much everything. And whether you're in California, Texas, Nebraska, Utah, PA, Jersey, Kalshi is available in all 50 states. For sports fans, trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out any time. With the college football playoffs this weekend continuing and NFL playoffs, now is a great time to hop on the app. You can hop on our Philadelphia Eagles if you are an Eagles fan watching this as well. They have all the games for NFL, all the college football games, and so much more. It is genuinely a smarter and better way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Download Kalshi with the link in the description. Don't forget to use code DIGESTMLB when you sign up to get your $20 bonus. And thank you again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. And we are back here on Phillies Digest. And yes, the Phillies have agreed to 1-year contracts and avoided arbitration with the following players: Tanner Banks, Johan Duran, Jesus Luzardo, Alec Bohm, Edmundo Sosa, Bryson Stott, and Brandon Marsh. As previously announced on November 21st, the Phillies agreed to terms on contracts with Rafael Marchand and Garrett Stubbs. So 9 total contracts agreed throughout this offseason to avoid arbitration, but I would say probably the bigger 7 were agreed to today. And yes, we do have numbers for them as well. So we'll start off here. Tanner Banks, $1.2 million, according to Bob Nightingale and Mark Feinsand. Johan Duran agreed for $7.5 million, according to Scott Lauber and multiple Phillies reporters. Jesus Luzardo, the biggest number for the Phillies, and rightfully so, $11 million, which is a fantastic deal for one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. Definitely one of the better lefties in baseball. That was according to Ari Alexander. Alec Bohm, Matt Gelb was the first on the news here. $10.2 million. A busy day for Matt Gelb, and we're going to get into that after I run down these numbers. But Edmundo Sosa, $4.4 million, according to Charlotte Varnes of The Athletic. Bryson Stott, $5.9 million, according to Robert Murray of Fansided. And Brandon Marsh, there isn't a number on here because after we wrote this article, the number just came out, but $5.2 million for Brandon Marsh. So no arbitration hearings for the Phillies. I think it's the first time in a pretty good amount of years the Phillies don't have to go to a hearing with anybody. I could definitely be wrong. I can't really think back right now. But no arbitration hearing. So once again, these guys all agreed. And, you know, a lot of big contributors for the Phillies next year. Tanner Banks obviously had a fantastic 2025 season as a lefty reliever for the Phillies. The Phillies are expecting him to take on a bigger role this upcoming year, and it seems Banks is ready for it after 2025. Johan Duran, obviously, now the $7.5 million closer. The Phillies traded Mick Abel and Eduardo Tait for back at the trade deadline. Awesome, you know, first half of a season with the Phillies. I think everyone's expecting big things from Duran in his first full season with the Phillies. Jesus Luzardo, $11 million. One of the better deals, I would say, for a pitcher in baseball right now, especially coming off the season that he had. This is where things get tricky. I'm going to skip Alec Bohm for now. Edmundo Sosa, $4.4 million, obviously, one of the better utility players in baseball. Brandon Marsh, $5.2, probably the opening day left fielder. And Bryson Stott, $5.9 million. The reason that I wanted to skip over Bohm, but as you can see here, a little over $10 million for Alec Bohm, is I recorded a full video on this yesterday. So if you guys want to go check that out on Phillies Digest, you are more than welcome to. But big report today that the Phillies have a meeting set with Bichette in the coming days, and as circumstances this offseason have changed, so is their interest level in the star infielder, according to Matt Gelb and Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. But one of the reasons why I said I would kind of skip over Bohm there was because, this $10.2 million won't be on the books for Bohm with the Phillies if the Phillies were to acquire Bichette. The assumption is that if the Phillies were to acquire Bichette, Alec Bohm would have to be moved. Bichette would play either second or third, and Bryson Stott would play the other position. But if Bichette is coming to Philly, Bohm is probably gone. And, that's a good chunk of money to clear up to be able to give Bichette. Another player that probably would not be here if they signed Bichette would be JT Realmuto, who seems to be wanting a little more, I think, in free agency than the Phillies were expecting and want to give him. That's why there's, such a standoff, it seems, right now with the two sides. The Phillies would probably look for a cheaper catcher on the market if they were to acquire Bichette. So here are numbers here again. Tanner Banks, $1.2 million. Johan Duran, $7.5 million. Jesus Luzardo, $11 million. Alec Bohm, $10.2 million. Edmundo Sosa, $4.4 million. Bryson Stott, $5.9 million. And Brandon Marsh, $5.2 million. Arbitration's always kind of a funky time. I know I said I would make a video on arbitration, so, let's just treat the last couple minutes of this video as the arbitration. So once players, get out of their pre-arb portion of their contracts and they're a lot younger, they get into their arbitration years where they have to agree with the team on a contract. If the two sides don't agree, they go to an arbitration hearing. I believe it's later in January. It may be really early February, but it's in about a month. And if sides do not agree, luckily the Phillies did agree with all their players. They go to a hearing, and it's basically determined if the team's number is given or the player's number is given. So that's kind of the quick spark notes on the whole arbitration. But luckily the Phillies will not have to worry about that this year. Yeah, a lot of big news today. This video was recorded on Thursday, so if you're watching this, I am recording this right after the Bichette video. But, that did kind of take the headlines today, obviously, after all the arbitration news was announced earlier in the day, and then Matt Gelb dropped the bomb about this Bichette rumor. It's crazy. I mean, it would be an immediate upgrade. It would add more youth to this Phillies team. He's 27 years old. He'll be 28 on New Year's, on opening day. And I saw someone say it earlier. I can't remember exactly who it was. It might have been Gelb. He's 19 months younger than Alec Bohm. And he's younger than Bohm. He's younger than Stott. He would immediately be like the third or fourth youngest player, besides, I think, Marchand and Crawford. So getting some youth, excuse me, back in here. But I am all over this deal. I would love it. But once again, one final time, this is the real reason why we were here today. For today's video, at least, Phillies agree with 7 players on a contract for 2026 to avoid arbitration. But this has been the newest episode of Phillies Digest. My name is Luke Arcaini. Smash that subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys next time.